Official. Aaron Rodgers traded to the New York Jets. Trade compensation as follows, and we'll have a betting conversation. The Jets acquire, obviously, Aaron Rodgers. They have a pick swap in the first round, so the Jets move back from 13 to 15. The Packers go up from 15 to 13, so they've swapped their first-round picks 13 and 15 in this year's draft. The Jets also receive a fifth-round pick in this year's draft, the 170th pick. The Packers get the pick swap. 2023 second-round pick, that's the 42nd pick in this year's draft, a sixth-round pick in this year's draft, and a conditional 2024 second-rounder that becomes a first if Rodgers plays 65% of the plays. Here's a translation. It's going to be a first-round pick in next year's draft, assuming that Aaron Rodgers stays healthy. That'll be a first-round pick next year for the Green Bay Packers from the New York Jets. And the Jets obviously hope that is like the 32nd pick in the draft, which will mean they have won their first Super Bowl since Broadway Joe was the quarterback back in the late 1960s.
Same thing from, I think, the first time we ever talked about this. It was, I don't want to be like against the Jets. I'm not like trying to fade them. It's not any of that. They make a lot of sense kind of like historically as a team that if they did upgrade the quarterback position a lot can go as far as winning the Super Bowl. So I think that is their upside, at least. Like, what is the best thing that can happen to this team this season? Win the Super Bowl. What is the worst thing that can happen to this team this season? Play in an incredibly crowded AFC where like 10 other teams maybe feel the way the Jets do, that like that's our ceiling and that's our goal, and to miss the playoffs and go like 8-9 or 7-10. In terms of the Packers, I think you and I both have a contrarian viewpoint, which is with Aaron Rodgers no longer on the Packers, I think we still want to bet on Jordan Love to maybe go over some of these win totals that we see in the market. Maybe Packers to win the division. Still a really, 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 really good team with a ton of talent on it and a ton of skill position talent on it. And we'll see what happens in the draft also. But just, I think we want to potentially play on the Packers and maybe just like gather more information. So it's really not against either team. It's kind of like the Jets maybe are properly rated in the market, but maybe the Packers still have some room to improve versus how the market feels about them.
Yeah, I guess this is not a contrarian betting take, but a contrarian sports media take, right? Everyone's going to talk about the Jets. The Jets obviously have more of like a Super Bowl chance, you would think, than the Packers, even with the AFC being tougher than the NFC. I'm more interested in betting Green Bay, Ken, than I am in betting like on or against the New York Jets here, because I'm bullish on the Packers with Jordan Love. Now, this is my opinion. I could be wrong. I think Jordan Love's good. I think Jordan Love's going to have a good year. Matt LaFleur has shown that he's at least a good regular season coach in an NFC North that feels pretty open to me. Plus 450 feels like an insane price. And if Jordan Love is good, the Packers could go 11-6. They could go 12-5 in a bad division and in a bad NFC. And like you mentioned, the AFC, like the conference being tough, Ken, and you're right. The AFC East is absolutely impossible, right? Miami's going to be good. Buffalo's going to be good. I feel like everyone thinks the Patriots are going to suck. Like, I don't feel that way. Maybe they come in last. Maybe they don't. I'm a lot more interested in betting on the Packers, like doing something with the Packers than I am betting on or against the Jets here. To me, Ken, and we've been consistent on this since these rumors first started, right? I'm more interested in the Packers part of these bets than I am the New York Jets. And the application right now, this week, is the pick swap between the two teams. And it's not like a team went from 28-6. Like, that's not what happened here. The Jets go from 13 to 15. The Packers go up from 15 to 13. And the thought has to be kind of, okay, like the Jets didn't want to do that, which means that the Packers wanted to, right? Like Green Bay asked for that in the trade. Like, why would the Jets voluntarily be like, yeah, we'll move down a couple slots in the first round? So Green Bay wanted this. Why did Green Bay want it? Like, are they trying to get ahead of the Patriots who pick at 14 for a player? Like, who do they think the Patriots would want to pick? Like, now, what does Green Bay want now that we know for sure Aaron Rodgers is not going to be their quarterback for next year as they continue to build this team? Is it a wide receiver, which would be really funny? Like, are they sticking it to Rodgers? But also, like, you can't have too many weapons for your young quarterback, right? I think it's a pretty smart team building, right? Try and get as many weapons as possible to support your young quarterback. Maybe this is for a receiver. Just like I'm thinking out loud right now, anything stand out to you just with that pick swap here and what it might signal about Green Bay's intentions here in round one?
Yeah, I mean, I think like you're working the problem a certain way, right? Which is, okay, they swap picks. It has to be for a reason involving player availability. Like, they want to take X player and they think improving 2 spots helps. It could have just been like, this pick swap is kind of like in terms of draft capital, like only going up 2 spots, like it isn't worth an extra pick being included from the Packers, or it could have just been like the right way to get the currency correct is like, okay, well, we'll pick swap here instead of giving you like another conditional something or having to change hands with like some other asset. So it doesn't have to be that like they have tagged a player as someone they are interested in and this is to do it. It could be for that reason. Like this is not me arguing you're wrong. It's actually me just saying like it could be either thing. It could be just that this is what makes the math work on the compensation, or it could be like it's how the math works on the compensation, and we kind of think we might get X player, which is pretty fun. We'll talk in the next couple hours about there's a difference between when like I look at their depth chart on a website and I'm like, oh, they need a tight end, I'm going to give them a tight end. And it's like, okay, well, like, what is anyone on the Packers telling anyone what they're going to do? That's what we're interested in. And the answer to that so far is no. So like all options are open in terms of where I haven't heard a thing about what the Packers are going to do. And also, even if I had heard something, now it won't matter anymore because they're picking 2 spots earlier than they were going to pick before. So like, I think it's completely up in the air what they're going to do. So the Celtics and Hawks played in game 4. Actually, a really fun game to watch, even though the series like outcome is not really in doubt. Celtics win, and there's a sort of a phone video that I saw from after the game. I think this was caught by a couple of the cameras even, but not on the game broadcast, of Hawks guard DeJounte Murray bumping an official on his way off the court in like a pretty aggressive manner where it's not like, oh, I would just like didn't see him there. It's like, no, like not only did you see him there, you like tracked your path to like go directly into his shoulder and bumped him. And honestly, like once that happens, and this is like a really bad job by me because I should have just been sitting here waiting for him to get suspended and or bet it. And I was like, well, like they haven't announced it yet. Whatever. DeJounte Murray has just been suspended by the NBA for a game, so he will not play in game 5, which will be back in Boston. As you can imagine, being that he is, Atlanta's best player in this series by far, the market for this game has like started moving pretty aggressively, where the Celtics were like 12 in most places in game 5. This game is going to be tomorrow night. This is the early game. It's actually nationally televised, which is really funny. The Celtics were 12. And the money line was about like 7 something, and now they're like 13.5 and minus 1,000 to win and therefore advance to the second round to play Philly. If they win, I believe game 1 of the series against Philadelphia will take place on Saturday, I think is what I saw. And then if the Hawks obviously ended up winning the game and extended the series, then the next series against Philly gets pushed a little bit. So it seems like we're more and more and more likely to have Boston, Philadelphia soon. It'll be the first second round series that starts. And part of that will be that DeJounte Murray just got suspended. And the Celtics are now even bigger favorites than they were originally in tomorrow night's game 5. I want to ask you first, Will, just about the Fox injury, just because we spent so much time on it here for the live audience. This is like the thing going right now, the top story going in terms of the market is still moving. The series prices are just starting to reopen on everything. So everything's like in motion, which I always just feel like is a fun time to have a betting conversation.
I mean, I'm as disappointed as you guys are. I was lining up a Kings play for game 5 just because of the tight nature of these, and the home court advantage has definitely mattered to this point in the series. And I would lean Kings at plus 3.5, although obviously the replacement minutes for Fox are going to be very, very different than what you got out of Fox. I think the biggest impact is certainly on total. I don't know how the Kings can keep up their torrid pace without Fox being sort of the integral key for the 40 minutes he's on the court. It's kind of insane, but when Harrison Barnes took that shot and he missed at the end of regulation, I kind of felt like that was the series. This was before knowing anything about De'Aaron Fox, because I could just kind of assume that in general, not winning in 5 was sort of the death knell for the Kings. The longer we go into the series, the tighter that team's going to get, the more difficult it's going to be. It's going to be difficult for them to win game 7 regardless, even if De'Aaron Fox is good to go for that. But just the pressure and the experience starts to matter more.